All right, what's good, y'all? I'm Monet, and I always got something to say. Remember, one love, one motion. We all human. We all come from God. We all bleed red. So let's all come together. Let's unify. Today, I got a little something special for y'all. I got Miss Pashondra James coming on to join us for our podcast today. I do have an oral interview due for my midterm. So I said, what better option than to put it on the podcast and submit it in for my work? It's a win-win. So I'm finna call her right now. Let's get Miss James on the phone.
Hello.
Good evening, Miss James. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well. I hope you are.
Yes, ma'am. Just to let you know, we are on air. So tell everybody hello.
Hello, everybody.
So yes, this is Miss Cassandra James, and I'm gonna allow her to introduce herself. Go ahead, Miss James.
Hello, everybody. My name is Pashondra James, and I live in Fuquay-Varina, North Carolina, and I am a local advocate here for healthcare causes in North Carolina.
Yes, ma'am. So Miss James, to start off, first of all, thank you for agreeing to this interview. It is greatly appreciated.
You're welcome.
Uh, could you give me some background on your childhood, your career life, your motherhood, and living through your illness?
Sure. I went to school here in North Carolina, graduated high school here, went to college. My career as a mortgage underwriter, I worked in that field for 20 years prior to getting sick and having to go out on disability. So I've had a full life. I've done a lot of things. I've lived a lot of places. And when Ehlers-Danlos struck, it struck fast and it struck hard. So I've had
Mm.
to leave corporate America to basically save my life.
And how was that? How was that process?
It was hard. It took 13 years to get an accurate diagnosis. Here in North Carolina, I saw a lot of different doctors who basically misdiagnosed me. First, they
Really?
thought I had MS, then they thought I had lupus, then they thought it was psychological. And so we finally got admitted into the Mayo Clinic down in Jacksonville, Florida. I was there
Okay.
for 8 days and had testing every day from sun up till sundown. And that's where they accurately diagnosed me with Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. And that is a disorder that affects every part of my body from my joints to my heart. So I dislocate and break very easily, and it
Mm-hmm.
causes me to go into congestive heart failure. So if I stand up too fast, if my heart rate is elevated, it can cause me to pass out. It
I'm
affects
so sorry to hear
every
that.
aspect of my life, GI, everything.
Why
So
did
it's
it
been a journey.
why did it take them so long to like why did that process why was it so difficult in North Carolina?
So I believe the main reason is that the doctors never put all of the pieces of the puzzle together. So I had a
Mm-hmm.
cardiologist, I had a gastro doctor, I had a primary doctor, and they were all treating me from different symptoms.
Mm-hmm.
Never once did they all put all of the symptoms together.
Hmm.
So they didn't know that all of those symptoms that I was having was the cause of one major thing. And it took going outside of North Carolina for that to be looked at, to be investigated thoroughly, and to come up with an
Mm-hmm.
accurate diagnosis. Going to
Do you
Florida literally saved my life.
I'm glad they did. Do you think that that had anything to do with the history of African Americans and the medical history of African Americans in America and how they don't really take um what not what we say very seriously, but it is a historical fact that um as far as getting diagnosed for African Americans in America, the doctors really don't take us serious. Do you think it has anything to do with the historical background?
Absolutely. And the reason that I say that, for one, is because, especially with African American women, they think we
Mm-hmm.
are super women, that we should
Mm.
not feel pain, that we can just handle anything that is thrown at us, that if we're going through something, that, we can handle it. We don't need any intervention. So it goes from one extreme to the other. Either they don't believe us, they don't understand us, or they think we're being hysterical or exaggerating our symptoms. I
And,
think if
and
people
that's,
had listened and really
mm-hmm,
taken into account what I was saying, that
mm-hmm.
they would have dug deeper. I should not have had to go outside of where I live.
No, you really shouldn't have, especially when we have so many notable hospitals around that are very close to Fuquay, Verena.
I agree.
So can you tell me a little bit about your journey as an activist, like particularly your work on higher wages and anti-poverty relief?
So I thoroughly believe that higher wages and anti-poverty relief, for me, is especially important because I am now on disability, and
Mm-hmm.
adequate access to medical doctors and resources can be a challenge getting the necessary help that's needed when funds are limited. So that is one of the reasons that I decided to start speaking up and speaking out because I needed help.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody was
For sure.
listening, and it's important to have people that look like you. Representation is important.
Yes, ma'am.
I started speaking up. People were coming to me and saying, "Oh, I've had the same experience." So speaking up for me is a passion because I want other people to know that you have to advocate for yourself. If you don't, nobody else will. And sometimes
Correct.
we have to make them listen to what we're saying, whatever that
Mm-hmm.
looks like for you.
Yes, ma'am. So has your experience as a black woman in America shaped your perspective on the issues that you advocate for?
It has. And as we spoke to just a moment ago, one of the things that is hard for people, especially African American women, is that we take a lot.
Mm-hmm.
When we decide to go to the doctor, it's already bad.
Yes.
We've waited such a long time. We are like, no, we can handle this. We'll just keep on. We will pray, and we'll just keep going through. And I'm a strong advocate of prayer too. But
Yes,
sometimes
ma'am.
God allows us to go to these doctors, and He gives them the wisdom to find out what's going on and to help us. Again, if they listen.
Yes, man. So it seems to be like, like the notion of the strong black woman, like that's one of the biggest notions that is pushed against the black woman in America. But like, I don't know, do they like do people forget like we have emotions too, and like we go through things just like every other human does. Like we're not superheroes.
I think they just think that as history has shown that we are strong. We do handle a
Mhm.
lot. We take the world on our shoulders and we keep going. We don't complain. We just make it happen. When things are
Mhm.
tough, we make ways out of no ways. But at the
Yes,
end of
ma'am.
the day, we are still human. We do still feel pain. We do have issues, and that needs to be acknowledged.
It should be acknowledged. So do you I know recently there has been a vote put in to cut Medicaid and Medicare wages. Does that how much of an impact does that have on your situation? And what do you think about the impact that it has on the rest of America?
Right now, for me personally, I have not seen an impact. I have,
Mhm.
although, heard from other people that are on Medicare and Medicaid that it's getting harder for them to afford certain medications. Some people, their doctors are no longer accepting Medicare and Medicaid, and so they're having to find new doctors, and that may take them outside of where they're living locally. Not only is that a challenge, but some of them don't have access to a bus line. They don't have
Mhm.
access to a vehicle or someone that can readily take them to their appointments if they have to go further than where they're living at locally now. So it can be a challenge. I'm hoping that it doesn't get any worse, although we do see things trickling, coming down now.
Mhm.
But
Yeah, we
as
do.
far as healthcare is concerned, healthcare should be a human right. It shouldn't just be available to those who can afford, going to doctors that are only accepting cash or, whatever the situation may be. We should all be able to get the necessary help that's needed for our individual medical situations.
Absolutely. And to go back to you saying healthcare is a human right, I was doing a tad bit of research on you, and I come up on the News Observer in Raleigh, and so I seen that you participated in a rally, um, rallies. It was a rally for higher wages and anti-poverty relief, and on the signs, you guys had healthcare is a human right, and also you guys had denying healthcare is violence,
Yes,
and I strongly believe that.
absolutely.
Because to deny health care is almost to deny somebody of a human right, of a birthright.
Yeah, the right to live.
Right. And we've seen, especially, and I don't want to you know not saying I don't want to dwell too much on the African American community, but it does affect all people in America, not just African Americans, but all people are affected.
Yes,
And so you participated in the Poor People's Campaign. I believe it was Monday, February 5th in 2018.
yes.
Can you share your personal experiences with you campaigning? Has it been hard to get your voice out or to be taken seriously when it comes to people um how do I say this? Sorry.
No, you're
when
fine.
it comes when it comes to people in Congress or in legislation, when you're trying to talk with them and elaborate and explain to them that this is a worldwide issue and this needs to be fixed because people are dying. Like, have you ever ran into a situation where they just simply do not care about your voice?
Yes. And so one thing that I've learned is that if you don't speak to people in Congress, whether you're speaking to them from afar at a rally, or you're speaking to them through a legislative hearing when they're allowing for public comment, that if you don't somehow reach them on a personal level, that
Mm-hmm.
it can go over their head. If they're not affected directly, that is hard for them. I don't want to really say hard for them to be empathetic and sympathetic, but honestly, sometimes it is. Unless they have someone that they're close to that is going through a crisis medically, financially, then
Mm-hmm.
they can't really understand that because they get medical, health care,
Yeah.
for the rest of their lives,
Yeah,
that
that's
kind of
straight.
thing. So it's kind of hard. So you have to find a way to appeal to the emotional part of them where you're not trying to bribe them with emotion, but you're trying to let them understand that this is real. What we're
Yeah.
doing is hard on us, it's hard on our families, and we're speaking from the heart, trying to let you understand that the people that you are supposed to govern in your state need help,
Mm.
and we need you to intervene and to intercede on our behalf.
Correct. So, what systematic changes, in your opinion, what systematic changes are needed to address the issues that you're fighting for?
I think one that they need to realize that everyone is dealing with something. So we need access and resources to healthcare locally. We need it not to be based on someone's income. Sometimes people will not go to the doctor because they're scared of what their copay may be. They
Mm.
may not be able to afford what that prescription may be once, they get it. So if those things aren't corrected, then people are going to continue to fall by the wayside and not seek help because they don't have the adequate access that they need, especially going back to the Medicaid and Medicare. I think there should be Medicare for all. I think
Mhm.
everybody needs to be able to have that access. And if they don't start changing how they look at people when they come in for help, if they don't start making sure that we have resources available to get people to doctors, if we don't start having people in place that are willing to listen, to say, okay, we see you, we hear you, we know these things need to change, but how do we go about implementing those changes?
Mm.
What do we do? It's not enough to say, okay, yes, it needs to happen, but what are you that are in control willing to do to start making those things happen? We need action,
Right.
not talk right now. But there's a lot
I
that needs to happen.
I love that you said we need action, not talk. Yes, ma'am. That is a fact.
It is.
Um, to go back to what you were saying about resonating with someone on an empathy level, is it safe to say that your mothering or your motherhood has impacted the way that you can relate to somebody on an empathetic level?
I would say that mothering, for me, is a difficult topic. One,
Okay.
because with this illness, both of my children passed away at birth 10 years apart from each other.
I'm
So
sorry.
no, you're fine. It's just what it is. So I went to the hospital expecting to come home with my son and my daughter, and that didn't happen neither time. Had I adequately been diagnosed, then we would have been able to prevent some of the things that happened. So with that, I have a lot of godchildren, my nieces, my nephews. So I'm a mama bear at heart. So
Yes,
when I
ma'am.
see someone that is going through, especially with their children and not being able to receive the help that they need, it wants me to be able to go out and to fight for them. I want them to have a chance to be able to get what's needed so that they can make their life just a little bit easier. So I'm overbearing sometimes. I can be
Hmm.
stubborn sometimes when I see that someone excuse me, that is
You're
going
fine.
through and not getting what they need, when it can be as simple as, someone taking care of a prescription for their babies. Someone's child should not have to be admitted into the hospital for an asthma attack because they can't afford their inhaler. I think that's a
And that's
problem.
correct. And so, do you think from those experiences, it made you want to research more about like the systematic barriers and the inequalities of African Americans in this country?
Excuse me. I think just being able to see those things um, up close and personal, and being in the midst of it, and not having to do a whole lot of research about it because I'm in it. I'm in the thick of it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm seeing it. One thing it
Mm-hmm.
has made me want to do is to say, you know what? We don't need barriers. What can we do to make these barriers disappear? And for all people,
Right.
everybody is fighting something that we don't know about. But one thing in particular, especially in income for areas that are marginalized, lower income areas, is
Mm-hmm.
harder. It's harder to get the things that's needed than in an area that doesn't have as many low income areas or a more affluent area. Sometimes it's easier for them to be able to maneuver and navigate different systems. You know what I mean? Some people
Mm-hmm.
just, they're intimidated about going
Mm.
to the hospital or seeking help because they're afraid they won't be believed.
Right.
And that's something that
And
I've
I agree.
experienced.
I've also experienced it. I don't want to say slightly. I recently went. I've been at the dentist. Here in North Carolina, and I've been going through this root canal process with them for 2 years,
Oh,
and there's
wow.
been no progress. There's been no crowning. They keep going into each tooth 3 times, and I'm like, I'm I am a history major at North Carolina Central University.
Okay.
So going to a HBCU and getting to like really grasp the concept of systematic inequalities, like and having to experience it, it was something because I almost felt like an experiment. Like you're going into the same tooth 3 times.
Mm-hmm.
There's been no progress and it's the same pain.
Yes.
So I definitely can relate in that aspect. So how do you feel how do you feel that economic disparities in healthcare access disappropriately affect marginalized communities, specifically here in North Carolina?
Going back to one of the things that I said earlier, I think that the economic and healthcare disparities, they coincide with each other,
Mhm.
because there's not a lot of resources, a lot of, doctors and dentists and people are leaving, especially rural areas. There's
Mhm.
not a lot that's left for us to hold on to. So with that being said, having to go outside of where you are is a big challenge when you don't have the income to be able to do the things that's needed to do. You know what I mean? Like, it's
Mhm.
hard because jobs are leaving. We're seeing that now. People are getting fired and laid off more than ever, especially, you know, these days now we're dealing with a lot that's going on. So it's going to be a lot of people fighting for new jobs. It's going to be a lot of people fighting to get access to health care. They're going to be fighting to get everything that they need to be able to maintain their family household. And it seems like it's not getting easier, it's getting harder right now.
So do you think that coming together as a community versus coming together, cuz it takes a lot, as we can see historically. It takes a lot for us to come together as a country.
That is true.
So do you think coming together as a community has um a more has more of an impact than trying to round everybody up and to be on the same page as a country?
I think so. And I mean, and we need the coming together. When we come together and our voices are heard, it makes a bigger impact. It makes a deeper impact. When it's just a few people fighting, and especially like in local areas, it's hard to get people to go to a rally. It's hard to get people to share their story. People are scared. They don't want to make waves, and they feel like, well, if I speak out against X, Y, and Z, then
Mm-hmm.
maybe that's going to come back on me. But we're stronger together.
Yes,
Everybody, we,
because
we are
when
stronger
two and three
together.
come together,
Yes, yes,
yes.
yes, ma'am. Absolutely, absolutely. And it definitely does take a village. And it's time we definitely need to come together. It's what's
Yes,
going to drive change.
in my opinion, it's really been past time because I've been thinking, because America, sometimes America stresses me out. And
You're not alone.
I've been trying to figure out where or if there even is a disconnect when it comes to us as a people, meaning African Americans, coming together to fight against um simply the status quo, because the status quo is um all the systematics. I call it systematic slavery
Hmm.
because they keep you in a box on
Yes,
purpose.
yes.
Like, that's literally what this country is founded upon. And so when I hear other people saying, "Oh, we're past that. America's not like that anymore. We don't have to learn about these histories because it just brings up a lot of hurt. It brings up hate." But I don't understand how people can say that, and we are consistently and have been going through this since
Nothing's
how many?
changed.
Not yeah, nothing has changed, and it's been hundreds of years of this.
Hmm. The only thing that's changed is the way that they do it.
Hmm.
Still doing the same thing, just doing it in a different way.
Right.
And just
By
because
implementing in systems.
that's right. And just because it's not in the forefront and they don't think people are talking about it or things have changed, people just don't listen to hear. We're saying the same
Mm.
things. Things need to change. We need help. This isn't working. This isn't right. You know what I mean? We've been saying
Mm-hmm.
those same things forever.
Yes, ma'am.
And the only
So
thing that changes is the conversation. And if people don't open their ears to hear, they're
mm-hmm.
gonna think, oh well, it's not that bad. And then as far as our communities coming together, some people, and I hate to say it, but some people forget where they come from.
I think the same things. And that's why I say, like, I try to figure out where the disconnect has been because, like, if you look back, us as a people, we've marched together, we've rallied together, we've unfortunately, I mean, like even in the 90s, we did riot, but we had
Mhm.
reasons. In 2020, we rioted together. And that was very surprising to me that we could all come together like that again because systematically we have been taught to go against one another.
Mhm.
So
If we go against each other, then there's no reason for anyone else to come against us. And that's something that we as a people need to work on. We need to grow from the inside out, not from the outside in.
mhm,
We need our own businesses. We need our own whatever. You know what I mean? We spend a lot of money with other people, and there's nothing wrong
mhm,
with that. I support anyone that has a business that's just trying to, do their thing and support their family. But we spend a lot of money with other people without
we
spending
do.
a lot of money within our own communities.
And I think that relates to the notion of capitalism.
Yes.
Um do you how does capitalism relate to healthcare when it comes to your personal experience?
Ooh, that's a whole nother story. That's a whole nother story, but it is
I
definitely
understand.
all intertwined. It all affects each other. You know what I mean? So
Mhm.
the economic impact, having lack of resources, the capitalism, money that we're
Mhm.
spending out, and then now especially with medicine starting to be privatized, it's going to be a whole different ball game. So they're
Could you
not even.
elaborate on that?
So a lot of doctors are no longer accepting insurance because it takes too long for insurance claims to go through. It takes away from their bottom line because they have to negotiate with insurance companies to give discounted rates, to their patients. So if they cut out the insurance company, they're cutting out the middleman. So that means all the
Correct.
profit that they make from their patients is straight profit.
So here's my question. Um, it may not be a question for you. It just popped up in my head. How do they expect for people who have disabilities, people who like people who are bedridden, people who have very very impactful um, health issues? How do they expect for them to work and pay for their health care?
They
To
don't.
me, it just doesn't seem like it doesn't seem like one plus one is equaling two in
It's
that
not.
equation.
It's not. The math is not mathing because here's the thing: when they make those decisions to go straight cash and to cut out insurance, Medicaid, Medicare, they're not thinking about those of us that have health challenges, those of us that are on disability, people that are bedridden. They're not doing it for those people. They are solely making decisions based on the ones that, can come in and pay, that don't want to have to wait, a long time to get an appointment. So they're just cutting out I'm going to say us, all of us together, those with health challenges that have insurance. We're not their target audience. So they're not
So,
thinking about that. That's my
uh,
belief. They're not thinking about that.
it, and I think the same thing. And well, what I'd say is they are thinking about it, but I don't think that they care.
That's the
I don't
sad
think that they
part.
really care. Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's sad because, I mean, in America, like everybody, we are all citizens. We
Mhm.
all pay taxes. Um, Specific groups of people in America have been through hundreds of years of hardships in America.
Yes.
Specifically, our community.
Right.
So what I don't understand is how, as a country, can you keep suppressing and oppressing over and over again one group in so many different ways and not have any empathy or sympathy towards them at all?
At all. And that's just been the way that our society has been. I
It's
don't remember a time when our society has ever been any different.
My dad said the same thing. Have you met? I think you've met my dad,
I
right?
know your dad. Yes. Yep. I know Cedric.
Do I sound like him a
You
little bit?
do.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. He put in
my
my
dad said the same
HVAC.
thing. He did.
He did.
He puts in everybody's HVAC.
Yeah, that's the man right there.
Yes, yes. So, how would you say that how has your activism impacted your own sense of community and connection with others, specifically in the state of North Carolina?
So I've been able to get out and meet a lot of people. I've had people come up to me and say, "Thank you for sharing your story. Thank you for speaking up," or telling me that, I've given them the courage to start fighting, for themselves, or if they're a caregiver, to start advocating for those that they're caring for. So it's
Mm,
allowed an avenue for me to be able to get out and meet a lot of people. And in turn, that gives me the motivation to keep doing what I'm doing. There's
mm,
a lot of people that's hurting all across the board in North Carolina that just want to be
yes, ma'am.
heard.
Mm,
And I think
yes,
that the more that we have these hard conversations, that people are going to start to see that if I don't start fighting for myself, why should anybody else fight for me?
hello.
And that's when we have, the coming to Jesus moment, when we come together and when we say, we can help each other, we can fight
Mm,
together. Like if you're going through, I'm going through, and we're going to get through it together. If you got a problem getting access to health care, and there's a specific reason behind it, let's figure it out. Let's fight about it. And not fight in a literal sense of violence, but let's get down to finding out what the root cause is and then cut
mm-hmm.
that root cause out.
Yes, because I always tell people, and this is in any aspect, and in general, it starts at the foundation.
It
It
does.
starts at the root because you can't build something and the root be contaminated or corrupted because it will
Nope.
fall.
It will fall. Absolutely.
So, what advice would you give to other black women who are considering taking on advocacy roles in their own communities, especially those with health challenges?
I would say if you're thinking about it, then you're called to it. If you're
Mm,
thinking about it, join the fight. If you're
yes.
thinking about it, somebody needs to hear your story. Somebody is looking at you to join the fight. They know that you can make an impact. Because for me, I didn't wake up one day and say, "Oh, I want to be an activist."
Mm-hmm.
I was called to this by the mere fact that I wanted to live.
Yes, ma'am.
And then I didn't
Yes,
want to
ma'am.
just live and lay in my bed. I've had 23 surgeries. Like,
That's a lot.
I have been through it. They have told my mother I should not be here. I should have died on a table. I have a will to fight, a will to survive.
Mm,
And that will right there has given me the heart to want to share that and to be that for other people that can't do that.
and I
Everybody
commend you
can't
for that.
can't share their voice. Everybody doesn't have um I have thick skin. So if you don't like what I say, then I'm still going to go to sleep tonight. You know what I mean? I'm still
Yeah.
going to be dealing with the same things. It's not really going to affect me. But some people, they take what other people say to heart in a negative way, and it affects them, and they let it get them down. And I got
Mm-hmm.
enough going on. I do not have time for that. Like, I have to keep moving. I have to keep going, and doing what I can to make sure that I maintain the best possible quality of life that I can while fighting what I'm fighting.
Yes, ma'am. And I commend you for that.
Thank you.
Because not a lot of people are comfortable with their own voice.
That is true.
I know me specifically. I just started my podcast. It's called Monet Got Something to Say, and that's actually what we're on right now.
I like that.
Thank you. And so my goal is just to push out anything that's gonna help anybody, whether you're black, white, orange, cat, dog. I don't care.
Right. It don't
And
matter.
right, in my opinion, we're all human. We all bleed red, and I'm a Christian,
That's right.
so I believe that we all came from God. So
And
whenever
everyone's voice matters.
yeah, yeah, because God doesn't give anyone testimony to waste.
Mm-mm. And you can't have a testimony without a test.
Hello, hello. So, what are your hopes and aspirations for the future of America in terms to economic justice and access to resources?
Whew. My hopes is that we can continue moving forward, that eventually we get to a place where the country sees that we are all worthy of getting the medical help. We are all
Mm-hmm.
worthy of having a living wage, not minimum wage. Who can afford to live on minimum wage and be sick? Nobody. Like it does
Nobody.
not. It just doesn't work that way. My goal is that we're able to uplift and encourage each other to get to a
Mm-hmm.
place where everyone is able to maintain their household. And I think that's important because, we have the underserved community, we have unhoused community that are also
Mm-hmm.
dealing, with things in their body that are also trying to just survive another day.
Mm-hmm. And we also have um, so many communities who are undereducated. Like they don't even understand what's going on with them, let alone understand the systematic barriers they're going to have to face when it does come time
Right.
to advocate for themselves.
And that
And I think,
is so important because a lot of people don't believe they have the right to advocate for themselves,
mm-hmm, but they do.
but they do.
Um, because in my opinion, and if they wanna, if you wanna talk technically, anyone who pays taxes in the country has the right
Hello.
to a voice. You feel what I'm
That's
saying?
it.
You
That's
know what I'm
it.
saying? So if I pay taxes, I, I, you bet right I'm gonna speak on what's going on because
That's
I
right.
pay taxes.
And we have that right. And
Right.
here's the thing, we don't have to like what's going on, but we do owe it to ourselves to understand what's going on
Mm-hmm.
and how it's going to affect us, and then make preparation to make sure that the downfall that comes with that doesn't harm us too much, because
Mm-hmm.
that's our own responsibility.
Yes, ma'am.
So it doesn't matter
So
what they do. What matters is how we react to what they do.
hello.
Because I
And I
still want to
also
eat tomorrow. I still want to be able to pick up my medication tomorrow. I still want my
yes.
lights to be on tomorrow. So
Yes.
we have to make
Yes.
sure those things are steadfast in place.
Yes, ma'am. So, how do you manage the balance between your activism, your personal health, and your daily life?
I'm still working on it.
Okay,
it
it's no
has
problem. It's a process.
it changes because how I feel changes.
Mm,
And when my illness puts me down or I'm in a flare, and by that I mean if if my heart rate is not regulated and I stand up, I can pass out. If,
mm,
you know, I smell perfume or cologne, it can cause me to have a really bad vertigo or mast cell um, reaction, and then that can put me down for days. It can put me down for a
mm,
month. It just really
mm,
depends. So I try to make sure that what I'm doing, if I have an event, if I'm speaking somewhere or have to be somewhere, I make sure that the days leading up to that, that I'm getting
mm.
as much rest as I can, that I'm not putting myself in situations that may cause a reaction. Because when I commit to something, I wholeheartedly want to be able to fulfill that commitment, but
Yes,
also
ma'am.
understanding that there are times where I have no control. And
Mm,
now I'm okay with that. I didn't always be okay with that. I used to feel so bad, but I didn't ask for this illness.
mm-hmm.
So I have to
And I,
make sure I do what I can.
yes, ma'am. And I was gonna say what I've learned in life, and I'm glad I learned it early. But can't stress things that we cannot control.
We
But
cannot.
but we can um give ourselves grace, and we can give ourselves certain tools and certain ways to go about things that we cannot control.
That's right. And that's so important. It is so important to give yourself grace.
Yes, ma'am. We actually talked about oh my gosh, we actually talked about um well, the title was Boundaries and Grace. We talked about it on my last episode, and I was just saying how it took such a while for me to give myself grace.
Mm,
Um, and it took a little minute for me to grasp the concept of grace.
Yes.
Saying, but when I did, it worked out for the better good.
Mm-hmm.
You see a lot more blessing and favor, and
Yes.
it's not all about blessing and favor, but in in this world, you definitely need blessing and favor, but also you have to be able
To
to
give
just
grace too.
forgive,
Mm.
mm-hmm,
Yes.
forgive and move forward. Because God gives us grace every day. So who are we not to give others grace?
That's right. And we
Mm-hmm.
forgive others, not for them, but for us, because I'm not carrying a burden around. I'm not carrying being mad at somebody. I'm not carrying, being just, ooh, I don't like that person. They said this. I'm not doing that.
Mm-hmm. Because
I
it takes too
forgive
much
you.
out of you.
It does. Even if you're not sorry, I forgive you and we're good. I don't have no
Mm-hmm.
issues. I don't have no issues
Mm-hmm.
with nobody. I love everybody, even if you don't love me,
Hello.
you know,
I'm the same way.
and I'm still gonna be okay.
Hello.
That's
Now
what we have to do.
I was a little fascinated whenever my stepmom, she had told me, she was just like, you advocate for the use of medical marijuana.
Yes.
How does that impact you as far as how you move in your everyday life in your health care, and how would you say that it is important worldwide?
So there has always been a negative connotation with cannabis, um,
Mm-hmm.
especially in marginalized communities. One thing I've learned is that there are things out there that can cure whatever ails you.
Mm-hmm.
There's no money in cures. So people will continue to demonize something if people start using that, and therefore we're not spending money on pharmaceuticals.
Mm.
What did it for me was in 2012, I couldn't eat, couldn't drink, couldn't do anything. Like I was sick. I was in the hospital and they told me that I needed a feeding tube because I wasn't getting the nutrients that I needed to maintain, myself.
Mm-hmm.
And I absolutely flat out refused. I signed myself out of the hospital against medical advice. I said, I will puree, I will juice, I will figure it out. But
Mm-hmm.
I am not getting a feeding tube. And my
Mm-hmm.
main reason for that is because I already have a port in my chest for my infusions for my heart. I didn't want to have another device because I'm like, now I'm not fully me. I have all these foreign bodies, in my person, and
Mm-hmm.
it's easy for your body to reject things that are not natural. So I started doing research, and I
Mm-hmm.
started reading about how cannabis can, help heal your GI tract, your stomach. So I gave myself some time. I found a lady that was making whole plant cannabis oil, and she taught me how to make it. And so I started making my own. And it
Mm-hmm.
was scary because, at that time, still not legal now,
Yeah.
not fully
Yeah.
legal. So, and I was scared, but I was more scared of dying than I was of trying cannabis
Oh, I
to
love that. I
sustain,
love that.
you know?
I was.
So I learned how to make it. And so I started taking 3 tablespoons of whole plant cannabis oil every day. And after a month, I started being able to drink like thick liquid. Then I started
Mm.
being able to eat oatmeal. And I'm like, oh,
Okay.
I'm eating this, staying down. Like,
That's
this is
good.
okay. And
Yeah.
so I started just slowly but surely introducing new foods.
Mm-hmm.
And by the time I went back to the doctor, he looked at me and he was like, what in the world? He was like, your stomach and digestive system has completely turned around. Where
Mm.
did you go? I said, it's not where I went, it's what I did. And I
Hello.
told him what I was doing. And he looked at me and he said, don't stop doing what you're doing.
Mm.
And that was it for me.
And look, that's all you needed.
And I was sold. Nobody had to tell me anything. I knew without a shadow of a doubt for myself what it did for me.
Mm-hmm. Personal experience. Can
personal
nobody can tell
experience.
you about personal experience.
Nope. Because I knew where I was. I knew what
Mm-hmm.
they were trying to do, and I knew that's not what I wanted for my life.
Mm.
And so
And
I
so
went
to
out
go
on a
back.
limb.
Mm-hmm.
And then as things started changing, and then hemp became, legal in North Carolina. So then I went and I became a hemp processor, for the state. So I am on the
Okay.
hemp processing list for the state of North Carolina.
Well,
And
congratulations.
thank you. And so even in that, I was like, I don't know. These cops still don't really understand. So I went to my local sheriff's department. I took him my documentation. This is who I am. This is where I live. This is what I'm doing. Please don't come kick in my door. And that's what I did. And he just kind of looked at me and he's like, "You are the first person to ever come to me and be like, this is what's going on." And I told him, I said, because I believe in transparency all the way around.
Yes, yeah,
I wasn't
communication is
trying to
very vital.
hide anything. I just wanted to be able to sleep and eat and live and, see my godchildren and my nieces and my nephews. I just wanted life.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't
And
think
it
that's too much to ask.
no, definitely not. So, what
Especially
advice
not,
could you give
oh, sorry, go ahead.
others? No, 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 you're good.
No, I was going to say, especially coming from a plant that God allowed to be on this planet. Like,
That's what I'm
who
saying.
are you to deny?
That's what I'm
Like,
saying.
no, we're not doing that.
And to go back to what you said about them demonizing certain things because of like the pharmaceutical aspect of it, them wanting you to buy medicine over and over again instead of putting in notions for a cure, because all these in my opinion, all these medicines y'all got out here, y'all can't come up with a cure. Y'all got 1,000 medicines,
hmm That
no
don't do
cure.
nothing but keep you coming back, because once you start taking that medication and it gets in your body, then your body's going to continue to need it. And once you stop taking it, your body's going to revert right back to whatever it was that ailed you in the beginning. So why
Mm.
not spend that money on cures? And we know
Yeah.
why, because there's no money in curing.
Yeah, because if you cure people, then that's it.
That's
They're
it.
not gonna come back.
That's right.
Hmm. I don't think that's right though.
And it's not.
Would you say it's worldwide or just America?
I would say it's worldwide.
Mm.
I know people in other countries that are in my support groups for Ehlers Danlos that are dealing with some of the same things. So I don't think it's specifically just here. I think it's everywhere. To the degree that it is, maybe different, but
Mhm.
in some way, it's everywhere.
It's messed up, man. Because in my opinion, like if you have the power, if you have the experience or the intellect to cure someone that is literally in pain every day,
Every day.
that literally almost I don't know everybody's situation, but almost has to face death or even think about them dying
hmm
a lot sooner than later. Like, why not?
Why
I,
wouldn't you?
yeah,
Why
and
wouldn't
it's
you?
just inhumane, man.
It
It really
is.
is.
We've had
It really is.
people that deal with EDS that have been in my support groups that have taken their own lives due to the pain that they're in.
Oh.
And it's hard and it's sad. I'm in pain every day. There's not a day that I wake up that I'm not in pain.
Mhm.
And it's hard. But I've decided whether I stay home or not, it's going to be hard. So I might as well go do what I can do, even if it's hard, and speak and show up. Because if I'm just staying at home, I'm just going to be in the bed and still be hurting.
Right.
So why not use that pain, and speak out for the better good of everybody.
Yeah. And what I want to say, because we're gonna close out here in a second. What I want to say is I really do commend you for being so strong and for being a person that not only people in your situation, not only being a person for people in your situation to look up to, but a person that everyone could look up to, because you are literally in pain every day,
I am.
in pain every day, and you're going through what I would say is like the unimaginable, and you still find a way to help other people, to speak out against the status quo, to speak out against social inequalities, economic injustice, and injustice in healthcare. You speak out against poverty. I want to commend you for continuing to stay strong and
Thank you.
continuing to have that oomph. I like to say that oomph because it takes a lot to have that oomph.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
There's
I
no
wouldn't have it
problem.
any other way.
Yes, ma'am. Is there anything else before we close out? Is there anything else that you would like to share about your experiences or your insights?
The only thing that I would like to share is that it has definitely been a journey and oftentimes very hard. But
Mm.
as I just said, I would not change it at all. I wouldn't change any of it because it shaped me into the person I am. And I kind of like who I am at this stage in my life.
Yeah.
I kind of like who I am. So yeah, I wouldn't change anything. I will continue to keep speaking out and speaking up, and I'll continue to show up.
And we appreciate you for that.
Thank you. And I
There's no
thank you
problem.
for having me. I thank you for taking the time to, you know, learn about me and look me up. I forgot all about that story being out there.
Oh yeah, I
But I
love to do my
appreciate
research now. You got to have your
well,
research.
you definitely have to do that. Yes. So I definitely appreciate that.
And there's no problem. All right, y'all. So to close out, I have Miss James here on the phone. I'm Monet. I always got something to say. I told y'all I'm gonna give you an opinion based off the facts. You give me an opinion, I'll give you an opinion based off the facts. Now, this particular episode is for my midterm, and we are gonna get 1,000. Do you hear me? 1,000. I want to say thank you to Miss James for joining us today, and thank you to you all for watching. Make sure you like, comment, share, subscribe. And to my professor, thumbs up, thumbs up. All right, Miss James.
Thank you. I
You have a
appreciate
good
it.
rest of your night. Continue to be blessed and stay safe.
Thank
And
you
we'll keep in
likewise.
touch.
Yes, ma'am. All right. Bye bye.
All right. Bye bye.